Good morning, this is Mona and this is my morning view. Today, spring edition 2026. Thought it was going to be cool. It was not. Had to take this off. And it is Tips Tuesday. So today, I don't have my whole thought process yet, but I had enough to be able to title it. So, Cultivating Your Belief. So, I've mentioned many times that faith is a verb. It's an action word, right? It's an action word. You take action on your faith. Now, belief, we know what you believe by your actions. That's how we know what your belief is. You can't say that you're an athlete if you just sit on the couch watching athletics. You have to actually get up and move. Now, there might be different levels of an athlete. You know, my grandson was an athlete in high school. Okay, he was all state, all county, MVP. You know, he decided to go to college and not play football. That was his choice. He had a lot of peer pressure to continue that. So at this point, he's no longer on that level of athletics, but he still does sports. He just does it on the side for fun. He does it with friends. He still works out. He goes to the gym. So he's still an athlete, but not how he was considered in high school as being an athlete. I was an athlete in high school. I did not play football. I was in gymnastics and in track. So those were my sports in high school. Before that, volleyball, basketball, baseball. You know, you go through the circuit. Choosing which one, and I decided that I wasn't really big into the team sport thing. Gymnastics and track is still a team sport because it's cumulative, but it's also individual. So you could win on your own achievements. You could get out there and you could do what you need to do and win first place, and your team lose. So it takes everybody on the team to really give it their best. And if they give it their best, maybe they'll win as a team. But you could absolutely be the very best and your team still lose. You still get to come home with medals. Kind of like the Olympics. The Olympics has these sports. They're all individual in a lot of the sense. Yes, there are some team ones, volleyball, baseball, you know, there are team hockey, but a lot of the ones that people really stand out and notice is the individual that won the gold. Oh, they can say, oh, Team USA won the gold, yay, you know. I don't even remember who won hockey this year on the Olympics. But the point is that there's different levels of being an athlete. But if you are not doing anything and you're sitting there, you cannot call yourself an athlete. So let's move it on over. Do you call yourself a Christian? There's a meme that always says, I call it a meme, but it was around before Facebook and all of the social media stuff. And that is, if you claim to be a Christian, is there enough evidence to convict you? Are you doing anything that shows that you are a Christian? And I'm not talking about, because There's a lot of stuff that we do in private. A lot of stuff that we do in private that we don't want out there. You know, when you're fasting, in your prayer closet, in your intimate times with the Lord. That's not broadcasted to everybody. But when you're in those spaces, we're covering the fruit of the Spirit this season with Thirsty Thinking Thursdays. That fruit of the Spirit comes up naturally. It's what it does. An apple tree produces apples. You wouldn't expect it to produce an orange. I live in the apple country. We have an apple orchard right down the hill. There's an apple orchard down the hill on that side. There's multiple apple orchards in the town next to us. Apple season. Whoo! Apple Fest. The amount of traffic that comes through this little town and on our little roads for Apple Fest. They're not coming up to see Florida oranges. I don't even know if Florida has an Orange Fest. But they're coming to see the apples. So, when we are doing those things behind the scenes, the fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of that silent time, that fruit of that hidden space, that fruit of what you're doing beneath the earth, where nobody can see it. The roots going down. I gotta stretch out that arm. When that happens, good fruit is produced. And when good fruit is produced, people see it, people notice it, people want it. But are you doing anything? Now, moving on to cultivating the belief. If you believe that God can heal you, I'm just taking healing as an example because I am a person who has autoimmune. I am a person that has some issues as I get older. And it's not my age. Because some people my age don't have these issues. So it's not age specific, right? But when you are not healthy, but you believe in healing, there are things that you need to do to cultivate your faith. There is a God part and there is a human part to faith. Like I said, it is an action word. And I know your beliefs by how you behave. This is a tough one because I'm guilty. I am very guilty of this. And that is things like inflammation. I get inflammation from this autoimmune. There's inflammation from other things, right? But am I on an anti-inflammatory diet? I used to be, and when I was, not only did I lose 30 pounds in 3 months, and that was after I gained eating more because I was losing weight so fast, it kind of scared me. So I was like, let's increase the food a little bit. And so I ended up maintaining at 130, at not at the weight of 130. I maintained that weight after I had lost that 30 pounds, and then I was about 140, which is not what I weigh right now. So I was on an anti-inflammatory diet, and I, fell off the wagon. I've talked to you about what fell off the wagon means. It comes from the 1800s when women were going around the town picking up the drunks to take them back and to kind of nurse them back and try to get them from being on their wicked ways. And And some of them literally, because they were so intoxicated, fell off the wagon. All right, so in a sense, I fell off the wagon and have not been eating anti-inflammatory foods. I have not, I mean, I do eat them, but I also eat inflammatory foods. And so my belief that God can bring healing is hindered by my continual act of not doing what I know is healthy for me, right? I'm not saying that my diet is for everybody. It was specific for me. The doctor put me on this diet. It wasn't a fad diet that I chose to pursue. It was a diet that the doctors put me on. It's called paleo. So when my doctor put me on paleo, it helped immensely. It helped immensely in a lot of ways. It didn't completely do everything, but it did bring my body, my physical body, into more of an alignment with health than not being on the diet. And so eventually the body does affect the mind. It does affect the soul, because when things are not going well, I'm trying to find the right word in my head. The spirit gets disquieted. I think that's the wrong word. But it's kind of like there's a scripture, I'm trying to think of what it is. It's where the heart goes sick. When things don't, when they're not coming around, when things aren't being fulfilled, when things aren't, y'all know the scripture I'm talking about. Remember, this is not a Bible study. This is me out here with the dog, and I'm on here. Just talking about my morning view. And this is the view that I have this morning is do I want to partner in my health journey with the Lord? Or am I expecting God to just do it all? Now, God can do it all. I'm not saying He cannot. He has healed people, and I've seen it. Not in my own life, but I've seen it. But there are some that He calls to partner with Him. And when He's partnering with you, are you willing to do your part? That is cultivating your belief. God can use a doctor to heal you. Do you do the things that the doctor tells you to do? I remember when I first got diagnosed with this autoimmune, I had a lump. I had a lump. And my nurse practitioner wanted me to go get tested for things. I didn't have time. I was working. Don't have time for that. I have a job to do. I gotta work. I gotta work past my 8 hours. I gotta work double my 8 hours. I've got to do all this stuff. It has to be done. And I don't have time to just go get stuff. So I'll just monitor myself to see how I'm doing. And I would check it. Is it growing? I wasn't looking at whether it was growing on the inside. I was just looking at whether it was growing on the outside. It wasn't growing on the outside. I got really sick with vertigo. And I had to make an appointment with my doctor. And I was stopping there on the way home from work. I was having really bad vertigo. I was commuting, by the way. You see some cars swaying, you might want to just pray for them. They may not be intoxicated. So I get there, and she says, I remember you from 2 years ago. That's how long it had been since I had been to the doctor. 2 years ago, I asked you to go get some tests done. You didn't do it. I'm like, oh, I didn't have time. She goes, look, you either go get the test done, you do what I tell you to do, or I don't want to be your doctor because I don't want to be your doctor when you die. That's pretty sobering. Not if I die, no, when I die. That was almost like when the doctor had told me, we have to see if you already have cancer. Not if you have cancer. It's like, yeah, my doctors are very straightforward. So I went and got tested. And I ended up having an autoimmune. And my count was in a space that was well above cancer stage. And I had to start doing what the doctor told me to do. Thing of it is, that, modern medicine doesn't always get the grasp of everything. And so I had to go to a holistic doctor. And the holistic doctor is the one that put me on paleo. And that is really the one that I credit to saving my life. But through the stages, they were all important in saving my life. But they can't save your life if you're not willing to do the work. If you're not willing to partner. If you're not willing to do what's been prescribed. And that's the same thing in faith. In this Christian faith. You have to cultivate your belief. You have to dig in there and do the work, the physical work. You get out the trowel, you get the ground softened around that tree. You get the shovel, you loosen the soil. You bring nutrients to the soil. You do physical work. Adam and Eve had a job. They had a job. It was an easy job, but they had a job. And they had to do their part. Then that job became harder because of sin. But without doing the work, they were going to just die. We have Jesus. It's that restoration of before the fall. And yes, we still live in a fallen world. And so there's still consequences to things in the natural and in the spiritual. But if we're not willing to cultivate our faith, do we really believe? Do we really stand on our belief and saying, this is what I believe, and not do 1 ounce of anything towards that belief? So my tip Tuesday for you today, if God's calling you to partner with Him, whether it be your health, whether it be your finances, whether it be your relationships, whatever it is that God's asking you to partner with Him, do your part. It's something I have to settle with. I have to set with in this health journey. I have to step up a notch. I've been passively partnering, but I have not been aggressively partnering. I have not gone, okay, that's it. In order to do this, it's like my doctor said, if you eat a little gluten this month, it absolutely will hurt you. You can't be gluten-free for 3 days and have some gluten. You can't be gluten-free for 27 days and then have gluten. You just can't have gluten. That's not everybody. There's a place for gluten. But for those people who are intolerant, for those people that are allergic, I'm not allergic, but for those people that are intolerant, we need to stay away from it altogether. Or I can eat the bread and have pain. That little bit of satisfaction at the moment, that little bit of satisfaction at that moment costs me. Esau had a need for food. He was famished. He was hungry. Felt like he was starving. What good is my birthright if I'm dead? He wasn't looking at just that little bit longer. When you wait till summertime, everybody will eat together. Everybody will eat together. You'll have a little bit. We'll all share. Do I need to remind you that Esau was wealthy? He was wealthy. He had a 100-fold return during a famine. During a famine. The dude was wealthy. He could afford food. The thing of it is he preferred that wild game that Esau would bring versus the goats, versus the lentils. He wanted that wild game. It was awesome. So Esau was a great hunter. So he went out hunting for game. And he came back and he was famished. He didn't catch anything. He didn't kill anything. He didn't bring any of it home. And now he's starving. And instead of waiting for supper time to eat with the rest of the family, he wants food now. My stomach is eating itself out right now. I need food. I need sustenance. What good is my birthright? And he sells his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of lentils. I love lentil soup. Let me tell you, that's savory. Oh, yes. I'm a lentil soup person. I am not allowed to have lentils in the anti-inflammatory diet because paleo does not allow lentils. So, I get this lentil soup. I shouldn't have it. Where was I going with Esau? That temporary right now, I want to do this now in my diet. What am I throwing away that God has for me? What am I throwing away for that temporary, I'd really like to have that piece of bread. I don't need a piece of bread. In fact, that piece of bread is not healthy for me. I seem to be okay with like sourdough and rye and that type. I haven't tried barley, but I have definitely tried the rye, the pumpernickel, and the sourdough. That seems to be okay. So I could, meander over to that side of the bread group. Little bits at a time, stepping away. Or I could, like I did when I started my paleo diet. But again, that burrito. The burrito is what did it. That restaurant isn't even in town anymore. So anyways, the point is what are we willing to partner with God with? That we may have to say no to some things, to say yes to other things in partnering with God. And when we don't say no to these things over here, what are we missing out? What are we losing out? If we step over here and partner with Him and do the things that He wants us to do and move forward, what does He have for us for the future? What does He have for us for the future? And it could be, just like Esau, the future wasn't for him. The future was for us. That all nations would be blessed through his lineage. But he sold it. And so Jacob had the blessing that all nations would be blessed through him, through Jesus Christ. All right. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Before I go, make sure you meander over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile, Mona E. Harrison. Subscribe, like, share, comment, get all the bells and whistles. Do that both on Facebook and on YouTube. And have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for Wonderful Wednesday. Bye.